Greetings to you on the channel Vedic Legend. Today I will tell you about how to behave and what actions to take if the girl you love is distancing from you, how to notice these signs, and what to do with them from the point of view of Vedic philosophy. You know, in Vedic philosophy there is a beautiful concept, sthita prajna. It means a person with a steady mind. Imagine a tree that stands firm even in the worst storm. That is sthita prajna. But how to apply it when your beloved is drifting away? First and most importantly, take a deep breath. Yes, just take a deep breath. Vedic wisdom teaches us that the breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. Question for you. Have you ever noticed how your state of mind changes when you consciously slow down your breathing? Now imagine. She doesn't respond to your messages. She cancels appointments. Your mind begins to paint the most horrible pictures. Stop. Remember sthita prajna. Instead of giving in to panic, pause. There's a great technique from yoga. Count to 10 while slowly inhaling, and to 10 while slowly exhaling. Try it right now. Can you feel your mind clearing up? Key point. Self-control is not about suppressing emotions, but about being aware of them and not letting them control you. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, "One attains peace only when one gives up all the desires of the mind." This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means learning to observe your thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. Practical tip. Whenever you feel yourself losing your temper because of her behavior, ask yourself, what would a wise man do in this situation? This will help you put things into perspective. Remember, friends, your peace of mind is your strength. Not only will it help you make wiser decisions, but it will also make you more attractive in her eyes. After all, what could be more attractive than a person who remains calm and confident, even in difficult situations? Last question. Why do you think self-control is so highly valued in the Vedic tradition? In the next chapter, we'll talk about why you shouldn't pursue it and how it relates to ancient wisdom. Now I'm going to say something that may seem contradictory, but it's the best thing you can do. Don't go after her. Yeah, you heard right. In Vedic philosophy there is a beautiful concept called vairagya. It means detachment, but not in the sense of indifference, but in the sense of freedom from obsessive desires. Imagine a lotus growing in muddy water, but remaining pure and beautiful. That is vairagya. But how do you apply it when you are so anxious to call her, to write to her, to make sure everything is okay? The first thing to do is to recognize your feelings. Yes, you're anxious. Yes, you're scared of losing her, and that's normal. Question for you. What do you usually do when you feel a strong urge to chase someone? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Act without becoming attached to the fruits of your actions." This doesn't mean becoming passive. It means learning to act wisely, without despair or obsession. Practical tip. Every time you feel an overwhelming urge to text her, do something for yourself instead. Read a book, take a walk, meditate. Key point. Not pursuing her doesn't mean disappearing from her life. It means giving her and yourself room to grow. You know, there's a beautiful metaphor in the Vedic tradition. A relationship is like a garden. If you constantly pull a plant out to see if the roots are growing, it will never grow. You have to give it time, water it, take care of it, but don't interfere with the natural process of growth. Question to ponder. Why do you think distance can sometimes bring people closer together? Remember, friends, your worth does not depend on whether she responds to your messages or not. You are a whole person, worthy of love and respect. And the more you value yourself, the more attractive you will be to those around you. In the next chapter, we'll talk about why it's so important to make yourself a priority. So why is it so important to make yourself a priority? Now I am going to talk about how to make yourself a priority. In Vedic philosophy, there is a concept called Atma Jnana, self-knowledge. And guess what? It's not just pretty words. It's the key to happiness and harmony in relationships. Imagine a full glass of water. Only from a full glass can you share it with others, right? It's the same with us. Only when we are full from the inside out can we give something to others. Question for you. When was the last time you did something solely for yourself, for your own growth and development? The Upanishads say, "Know thyself." But what does that mean in practice? It means taking time for your interests, your health, your spiritual growth. Practical tip: make a list of things that bring you joy and energy. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's reading philosophical books, or maybe it's just walking in nature. And be sure to incorporate these activities into your daily routine. Key point: by making yourself a priority, you don't become selfish. On the contrary, you become the best version of yourself, capable of giving love and care to others. You know, there is a beautiful metaphor in the Vedic tradition. A human being is like a musical instrument. To create beautiful music, the instrument must be tuned. So are we. To create harmony in relationships, we need to tune ourselves first. Question to ponder: why do you think people who engage in self-development are often more successful in relationships? Remember, friends, self-love is not selfishness. It's the foundation for healthy, happy relationships. When you love and respect yourself, you naturally attract people who will love and respect you. The next chapter is about respecting her boundaries. So in Vedic philosophy, there is a beautiful principle of ahimsa, non-violence. And guess what? It applies not only to physical violence, but also to emotional violence and even energetic violence. Imagine a beautiful garden. There are different flowers growing in it, each with its own space to grow. If we try to forcibly intertwine their stems, what happens? That's right, we can damage the plants. It's the same in relationships. Everyone needs their own space to grow and develop. Question for you: have you ever had a situation in your life where you felt your boundaries were being violated? How did it make you feel? In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras it says, "Ahimsa pratishtayam tatsanidao vajrayagya." When one is established in non-violence, all enmity ceases in his presence. But what does this mean in practice when it comes to relationships? It means respecting the other person's wants and needs, even if they are different from yours. If she says she needs time alone with herself, respect that. If she's not ready to discuss a topic, don't push it. Practical tip: try keeping a journal of your feelings and thoughts. When you feel the urge to violate someone else's boundaries, write it down. Try to understand what's behind that desire. Maybe fear, maybe insecurity. Key point: respecting boundaries is not about alienating. It's about creating a healthy space in which true feelings can blossom. There are beautiful words in the Bhagavad Gita. Yoga is the art of acting in a state of balance. Respecting boundaries is that balance in a relationship. You take care of the other person, but you don't try to control their life. You know, in the Vedic tradition, there is a beautiful concept of svya dharma, each person's personal duty or purpose. By respecting the other person's boundaries, we allow them to follow their svya dharma, their unique path. Question to ponder: why do you think respecting boundaries can make a relationship stronger? Remember, friends, true love does not seek to possess or control. It gives freedom and support. When you respect another person's boundaries, you show your maturity and readiness for a deep, healthy relationship. The next one of the most important aspects of any relationship is about honesty and clarity in communication. In the Vedic tradition, this is given utmost importance. Why? Because as the Upanishads say, truth leads to immortality. Imagine you are building a house. If you lay a weak foundation, sooner or later it will crack. So it is with relationships. Without honesty and openness, they cannot become truly strong and lasting. Question for you: when was the last time you experienced difficulties in communicating with a loved one? What do you think was the cause? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Sattvam shuchau sattva samshuddhi." What does that mean? It means that purity of mind and speech leads to enlightenment. In other words, if we want to achieve harmony in relationships, we must learn to express our thoughts and feelings clearly and honestly. Practical tip: start small. Try practicing sadhana, a spiritual discipline, every day. For example, throughout the day, observe your speech. Note when you evade the truth, exaggerate, or avoid important topics. Over time, this will become a natural habit. Key point: honesty is not just the absence of lying. It's the ability to openly and respectfully express your point of view, even if it differs from the other person's. You know, in the Vedic tradition, there is a concept called Mahavakya, great sayings. One of them says Tattvamasi, you are that. What does that mean? It means that we are all part of the whole. Therefore, when we express ourselves sincerely, we help others to understand us and draw closer to them. Question to ponder: why do you think clarity and honesty are so important in any relationship? Remember, friends, your true value is not in being liked or meeting someone else's expectations. Your value is in being yourself, openly and boldly. And when you show that vulnerability, you attract the people who truly value you. The next chapter talks about something that may seem obvious but is actually an important part of Vedic wisdom: how to communicate properly. The fact is that Vedic philosophy places great importance on balance and moderation in all things. This concept is called mithahara. Imagine that you have come to a beautiful garden where all kinds of flowers grow, bright and delicate, unremarkable and luxurious. If you start picking them all, you will destroy the harmony of the place. The same is true in communication. It is important to find a balance so that you don't derail the relationship. Question for you: have you ever had situations when you literally flooded a person with messages, trying to get his attention? Where do you think this could lead? In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Yukta haram, yukta karmakam, yukta svapna avabodhasya, yoga brashtasya. What does that mean? It means that a person who has attained harmony is moderate in eating, action, and even in sleeping and waking. Practical tip: when you feel yourself starting to write post after post, stop and ask yourself, is this really necessary right now? You may want to do something else instead to shift your attention. Key point: moderation in communication is not indifference. It's the ability to respect the other person's personal space and not impose yourself on them. You know, there's an amazing story in the Vedic texts about Krishna and Radha. When Krishna decided to leave for a long time, Radha suffered and cried. But Krishna said to her, "If you want me to come back, let me go." Only after that, their meeting became even more sweet. Question to ponder: why do you think moderation in communication can help preserve and even strengthen a relationship? Remember, friends, relationships are not a competition for attention. It's a dance where each partner respects the rhythm and personal space of the other. When you show moderation, you show maturity and self-confidence. Here we come to a very important point: self-analysis. In Vedic philosophy, it is given great attention. Why? Because only by realizing ourselves we can truly understand and change our behavior. Imagine that you want to grow a beautiful garden. What would you do? Of course, scrutinize the soil, the climate, the needs of each plant. Likewise, in relationships, we must constantly examine ourselves to see what needs to change. Question for you: when was the last time you thought about your actions and their impact on relationships? What have you learned about yourself? The Upanishads say, Svadhyaya is self-knowledge. The regular practice of introspection helps us to better understand our thoughts, feelings, and habits. And this, in turn, leads us to personal growth. Practical tip: try keeping a diary or recording your observations on a tape recorder. Pay attention not only to your actions, but also to how you feel. What motivates you to do what you do? The key point is that self-reflection is not self-abuse. It's more of an exploration, an outsider's perspective. It helps us understand where we can change for the better. You know, in the Vedic tradition, there is an amazing concept called Svadharma, each person's personal destiny. When we know ourselves more deeply, we better understand how to realize our Svadharma, our unique role in this world. Question to ponder: why do you think self-knowledge is so important in relationships? Remember, friends, we are all imperfect. but it's recognizing our imperfections and being willing to improve ourselves that makes us truly strong and attractive. When you dare to look inside yourself, you open yourself up to deep, harmonious relationships. In this chapter, I will talk about the importance of correcting one's mistakes. In Vedic philosophy, this process is called karma samskara, purification of karma. Sounds serious, doesn't it? But it's actually one of the most important steps on the path to a harmonious relationship. Imagine that you have decided to build a new house, but in the process, you've made some construction mistakes. What would you do? Fix them, of course, before the foundation cracks. It's the same in relationships. The sooner we recognize our mistakes and start fixing them, the stronger our bond will be. Question for you. When was the last time you made a mistake in a relationship? How did you feel about it? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Karmanye vadikaraste, mafalashu kadachana. What does that mean? It means that we are responsible for our actions, but not for the result of our actions. In other words, we can and should correct our mistakes, but let go of expectations about how things will turn out. Practical tip. Once you realize you've made a mistake, don't try to hide or justify it. Admit it honestly and openly. Then think about how you can make things right. Perhaps you should apologize or offer a compromise. Key point. Righting wrongs is not just an outward gesture. It is an internal process of realization, remorse, and personal growth. When we are willing to accept responsibility for our actions, we become stronger and wiser. You know, in Vedic culture, there is an amazing ritual called prayashchitta, atonement for sins. It involves not only external actions, but also deep inner purification. It helps a person not just to apologize, but to truly realize their mistakes and correct them. Question for reflection. Why do you think Vedic wisdom attaches so much importance to righting wrongs? Remember, friends, we all make mistakes. But true strength lies in recognizing them, correcting them, and moving on. When you demonstrate such maturity and responsibility, you become much more attractive to others. In this chapter, I will talk about one important skill, knowing when it is time to end a relationship. In Vedic wisdom, this corresponds to the principle of viveka, discernment. Wisdom lies not only in creating harmonious connections, but also in the ability to let them go in time. Imagine that you have been growing a beautiful flower for a long time, but at some point it begins to wilt. What do you do? Of course, carefully cut it off, making room for new growth. It's the same with relationships. When they're exhausted, you need to end them with dignity to make way for new, more suitable connections. Question for you. When was the last time you realized it was time to say goodbye to a relationship? How did you feel about it? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Parito nashyati. This means that everything is temporary and subject to destruction. Hence, the conclusion is that one should be able to wisely let go of what is gone to make room for the new. Practical tip. Listen to your intuition and discernment. Once you feel that the relationship has exhausted itself, do not cling to it. Be honest with yourself and your partner. Explain the situation with compassion. Then let the situation go with dignity, without drama or resentment. Key point. Being able to end a relationship on time is a sign of inner strength and maturity. It shows that you are able to soberly assess the situation and act in the best interest of all parties. Question for reflection. Why do you think Vedic wisdom places such great importance on the ability to say goodbye to a relationship on time? Remember, friends, everything in this world is temporary. But true wisdom lies in learning to let go with dignity of letting go. When you practice this, you are freed up for new, deeper connections. And now, you will hear about the key aspect of harmonious relationships, constant self-improvement. In Vedic philosophy, this corresponds to the concept of sadhana, spiritual practice. Imagine that you want to build a beautiful, sturdy house. What will you do? Of course, you will start with the foundation. You will lay strong foundations. It's the same in personal development. By investing in yourself, in your growth and improvement, You create a strong foundation for harmonious relationships. Question for you. When was the last time you took major steps toward self-improvement? How did it affect your relationship? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yogastha Kura Karmani. This means to act in a state of inner balance and harmony. In other words, by working on ourselves, we become stronger and more confident in relationships. Practical tip. Set aside time to regularly practice self-improvement. This can be meditation, learning spiritual or psychological practices, developing skills and qualities. Invest in yourself and you will see how it will positively affect your relationship. The key point is that when you work on yourself, you become a more whole, confident, and attractive person. This creates a strong foundation for healthy, harmonious relationships. Question to ponder. Why do you think Vedic wisdom places such a high value on continuous self-improvement? Remember, friends, personal growth is not a one-time act, but a continuous process. This is where the key to a happy and successful relationship lies. Keep on the path of self-improvement, and you will be rewarded in full.